Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Sanctuary. My name is Christian and I hope that you will join me in taking refuge in records. So I'm here today with part 9 of my top 100 side 1 track 1 ranking series, and the batch that I'm looking at today are my favourite album openers from 20 all the way up to 11. So there's my little Nigel Tufnell impression there for anybody who may have enjoyed that. Maybe you didn't. It could have been the worst impression you've ever heard. But I'm in one of those moods, so I thought, why not go for it? So yeah, we're going all the way up to 11, and we're almost at the very end here. It does feel like a real journey, this one. And again, for everybody who's been playing along from when I started at the time of recording all those months ago, with number 100 in this top 100, it's been a really enjoyable experience, and it's been wonderful to see all the picks that people have been popping into the comment section on the various videos that I've done at this moment in time. So if you're new to the channel, if you've stumbled upon part 9 in isolation, you're wondering what I've been up to, then please do check out parts 1 to 8 in this series. I'll put links to those videos in the description box to this video that you're watching now. That'll give you a chance to maybe catch up, see what other album openers have ranked so far. And in part 1, I give a few rules and regulations I put on myself as to how I actually went about picking these songs to begin with. So yeah, we'll just get into it. So sit back, even relax, enjoy what I'm about to show you. As always, I welcome any comments that you may have on my picks. And for all those people who've been playing along, I'm really looking forward already to seeing what you've got all the way up at number 20 to 11. And if anybody new here wants to join in, then please do feel free. Of course, there's no pressure to do so, but if you do want to get involved in any way with revealing your favourite album openers, then please do pop a comment, and myself and the community would love to see what your picks would be. Okay, so starting us off then at number 20, we've got an absolute rocker here from 1987, US band. Love these guys so much. Again, one of those groups that takes me all the way back to childhood. A lot of picks in my top 100 have very much been in that, of that ilk and in that vein. It does feel very much like childhood experiences and childhood memories have been a huge contributing factor to the songs that I've ended up choosing. And I was in a really good discussion about that with Robert, who is somebody that watches my channel regularly. He's been playing along with the top 100, and yeah, a lot of his picks have come from his childhood as well. So I'm sure that's been the case with other people too, but it just so happens that myself and Robert did get into a bit of correspondence about that on a previous video. So yeah, it's really interesting, those formative years that that we have, where music just feels as vital and important as anything going on in the world. Of course, for all us music lovers, you never lose the love of it, but I do think when you're younger, and certainly going into your teens and stuff like that, music really does feel like everything. So here's a band that takes me all the way back, and we've got an absolutely amazing opening song here. So the album is Appetite for Destruction. The band is, of course, Guns N' Roses, and this opening track is Welcome to the Jungle. So if you are going to kick an album off, a rock album, here's how you do it. So I've got it all the way up at number 20, which, obviously attests to how highly I rank and value this song. It is still one of my favourite ever live experiences when we went to watch, me and my mates went to watch Guns N' Roses at the Leeds Festival. I think it was all the way back in 2002, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting for the band to show up. We were wondering, would they even show? It's usually customary for Axl Rose and friends to be late for such things, and they did end up coming on. And when the opening bars of Welcome to the Jungle came across, the speakers, it was just absolute bedlam in that crowd. It was crazy. Never forget my mate Martin stood almost like literally gripping onto the back of his head. He was so excited to see to see his heroes come take to the stage. I think he must have thought his hat was going to drop off or something, or his head might have even have exploded with the sheer excitement. So it really is one of my favourite memories, was watching my friend experience that, because he is an absolutely massive Guns N' Roses fan, is Martin. I'm a huge fan as well, but I think Martin and my friend Chris over in Australia could well be the two biggest super fans that I happen to know in my friendship group. So yeah, a little bit of an anecdote there as well. I've seen Guns N' Roses a couple of times live. Brilliant on both occasions. Second time I saw them was with Slash back in the fold. First time I saw them was with Buckethead. That was quite an experience watching Buckethead play. Well, played all the Gunners songs, obviously, and then he did like a little bit of a showcase where he was showing off his virtuosity and doing all kinds of mad robotic stuff on the guitar. Absolutely brilliant days, great stuff. So let's get into this opening track anyway. So Welcome to the Jungle. What can you say about it in terms of setting the mood and the tone for this record? It's a debut album. It is Guns N' Roses' debut. It just sets the stall out in such a really effective way. It's a sleazy, dirty song. It's got loads and loads of attitude. It's grimy. It's sort of like a really pumped up hard rock sort of blues hybrid. I feel like, you know, Guns N' Roses were taking their influences from many different places. You know, the likes of Aerosmith, but also I think there's a lot of punk attitude, a lot of swagger going on in these grooves as well. So here you can see the band as it was at the time. So we've got here Steven Adler on drums. Yeah, he's Steven. He's been quoted as rather than Steve credited. Of course, the one and only Slash. You know, just what an absolute guitar god. Love Slash. Great photograph of him there. We've got his Batman t-shirt on. Got Duff McKagan there, bass guitar. The absolutely wonderful Izzy Stradlin, one of the best rhythm guitarists, I think, in the rock genre. Absolutely brilliant guitar player. And then we've got a voice for the ages here in the one and only Axl Rose. So, you know, if you're gonna put your first album out, you know, multi-million seller that it was, you know, Welcome to the Jungle. Lyrically, let's just say, as I've gotten a little bit older, you know, it's a very exciting song still. You know, it hasn't lost any of its power in that regard, but lyrically, you know, I think as you get a bit older, you know, one could question the content of the lyrics. I would totally understand and appreciate and get why people would do that. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it is my cup of tea. You know, it is one of those songs that I just can't help but love. They're a band that I can't help but love. That they're in here. They have been from being young. You know, grew up listening to these in the house. My brother was a fan. You know, just great memories of watching them on television during live performances. You know, they were just such an arresting sight on stage. You know, Axl running around like just a whirling dervish, you know, in his bandana and his kilt on and jumping around and singing with that absolutely unmistakable screech, that squawk of a voice that he's got. So powerful. You know, no wonder AC/DC ended up bringing him in for a while on vocal duties. You know, he's just a tremendous band. They really are. And Welcome to the Jungle, We Got Fun and Games. You know, it really is a song that it just gets you ready. It gets you into the fray, as it were, for this album. And as I've mentioned before, you know, for me, opening tracks on albums, are they going to set the mood? Are they going to be a little bit of a misdirection? You know, they're going to maybe play a bit of a trick on you in that regard. I would say there is one song coming up in this batch that does that, but we're not quite ready for that one yet. But for this one, it just doesn't let up. You know, it just comes tearing out the gate. Then you've got all these classic songs to follow on. But Welcome to the Jungle is just a brilliant decision to have that as your opener, just to get you going and ready for it. So yeah, number 20, brilliant song, great guitar playing on it, of course, by Slash. But the rhythm section of Adler and McKagan is fantastic. You know, Izzy Stradlin on rhythm guitar, utterly superb, and then Axl Rose out front and centre leading it all and you know, taking charge. And you know where you are. You're in the jungle, baby. It's a real classic, that one. So brilliant song to get us started there. Certainly the rockiest song, I would say, in this particular batch. Very heavy, that one. Okay, so we're moving away now from Guns N' Roses, and we're going back in time from 1987, just a couple of years to 1985. We're going over to the UK now as well. This is a seminal record for me within the sort of the indie alternative, if you will, genre. I'm just constantly amazed at how beautiful this song actually is. It was a great decision by the band on an album that is known for its feedback and its use of noise and distortion, and you know, it's got this sort of head-splitting kind of volume to it, and you know, it does all kinds of things to your senses when you're listening to it. Their opening track is stripped back in that regard in terms of the noise side of it, and very much the melody and the beauty of the song shines through. And I would say this is a great example of where the song, it does set you up for what's to unfold with the album, but it only gets more full on from this point. This is like a really, really beautiful piece of music to get things underway. So coming up next at number 19 then, we've got the Jesus and Mary Chain with their debut album, Psycho Candy, and the song in question is Just Like Honey. So yeah, this is just a gorgeous song. I think it works on a few levels lyrically, you know, with a talk of the honey dripping beehive, you know, in terms of its imagery. It's got a very, very narcotic sort of feel to it. It's a bit hazy in its own way. I wouldn't say psychedelic, but it's certainly a beautiful exercise in like drone rock. I would say it's quite Velvet Underground influenced. You know, it's got that sort of very classic doom, like the you know, the Be My Baby drum intro riff going on to it as well, which is just played by Bobby Gillespie, who of course went on to lead Primal Scream. Got Douglas Hart on bass guitar, and then we've got here, of course, on both on guitar duties, we've got Jim and William Reed, and then we've got Jim Reed taking care of vocals as well. And he turns in a stunning performance on the vocals. So as just before I get into showing you what's inside here, I think this might be just no, there is something to show on this one. I do tend to show inners and things on records. My copy of Appetite for Destruction is a little bit beaten up, so that was why I didn't show that. It hasn't got the original inner on it, sadly. It does play through perfectly well, but it's just a very, very well-loved copy of that album. So apologies there for backtracking on myself. It's just that I know people who do tune in to me, and it has been the pattern during the series that I do show what's inside the sleeve as well, but nothing to show on that one. If anybody's got a spare inner for Appetite for Destruction and wants to help somebody out here, then I'd be most grateful if anybody does. So yeah, let's get over to Psycho Candy then. So this is a repress, this one. Got some brilliant photographs here with the group. Let's start with those, shall we? I think my all-time favourite photograph of the Mary Chain's on here somewhere. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is. It's on the back. I'll get to that one in a minute. So let's show you these first. So yeah, Bobby, Doug, or Douglas, and then William and Jim. Great photographs there. Great picture there of Douglas Hart. Such a great photo. Look at the hair there. Brilliant. They all had great haircuts. Such a cool looking band. The Jesus and Mary Chain. So that favourite picture of all time of the Mary Chain is that one there. I love that one. Always loved it. Superb. Rocking those shades as well, aren't they? All of them. Great haircut there on Bobby as well. Look at William there in the corner. So yeah, it's an album that sounds as cool as that inner. So Just Like Honey, yeah, as I've mentioned, you know, it's got the Be My Baby riff going on. The guitar's quite simple but effective. There is distortion on there, but it isn't anywhere near as you know, headache inducing, should we say, as some of the other tracks on this album. I mean, I love the Headache sort of, you know, the ear splitters as well on this album. I love the whole thing from beginning to end. This is an album I really, really highly rate. But what makes Just Like Honey such a beautiful opener is, as I mentioned, I love the imagery of it. It's got a lovely narcotic vibe to it. Jim's vocal is one of the best I think he ever laid down. I've always loved Jim Reed's voice. You know, he has got like almost like an East Kilbride equivalent of Lou Reed, in that he sort of, I wouldn't say speaks. He probably sings a little bit more than Lou ever did, but there is, you can just hear that sort of that Scottish attitude in the voice. And it's not even as if he sings with a particularly strong accent or anything. He doesn't. You know, there's plenty of other Scottish artists I can think of who sing in a much more should we say, they're more native brogue than Jim ever did. But there's just something in the voice where you can just sense that he's coming from a place of almost like a bit world weary. Certainly for someone who was you know, a young man at this point as well. I always felt that his voice, and especially on Just Like Honey, had like a bit of like a wisdom and a bit of a woundedness to it as well. So it is just a brilliant song. I mean, it's quite sweet and tender in its own way as well, but there is a darkness to the track as well. So, you know, do check out the lyrics when you're listening to that one, Just Like Honey. You know, I do think it has got some interpretations with the words, and there is like a bit of a sensual kind of quality to the lyrics as well. Certainly the way that I listen to it. But if you just want something that's very hazy, almost quite dreamy in a way as well, not dream pop, but there is like a bit of a dreamy quality. I mean, other people could listen to it and think it might sound a bit nightmarish, but I just think it's an absolutely incredible song, hence me having it ranked so highly. And it was used to brilliant effect in more recent-ish years. I say recent-ish, I mean not really now, but 2025 now. But when Sophia Coppola released Lost in Translation, Just Like Honey is used to stunning effects in that film. So a little bit of a film reference there for you as well. Okay, so moving on to the next one. So I've just briefly mentioned this group in relation to the Jesus and Mary chain, so might as well get right into it. So coming up next, we've got another song here that I feel has a gentle, narcotic, hypnotic quality to it, and certainly does set you up for an album that goes in a lot of other directions sonically. Everything from the avant-garde to just classic drone rock and everything else in between. So this is an absolutely iconic album. I'd say it's probably my second favourite album of all time. And for an album opener, this is really as well. I won't say as good as it gets because it's not my number one, is it? It's not even in the top 10, but it is a wonderful, wonderful song. Please make no mistake about that. These are all wonderful songs in this 100. That's why they're there. But we're getting into the real, for me now, for my own picks, the real creme de la creme. So here we've got now Sunday Morning, and the album is The Velvet Underground and Nico. And the band, of course, is The Velvet Underground. And at this point, they had Nico with them. So produced by Andy Warhol, another debut album. So got 3 debut albums in a row. And this is the first of quite a number of albums, or songs I should say, album openers that's dated back to 1960s. So you might already be wondering now, I've given you a little bit of a clue there. You can expect a very healthy smattering of 60s songs in this particular batch. So that'll show you where, as I'm going further up my own chart, where my music taste does tend to lie. So as you can see there, my banana there has not been peeled. It's all still intact. There's the back cover there. And this is a truly, truly legendary album, really is. I would urge everybody and anybody who's maybe never heard this record, please do listen to it, check it out. It changed my life, it really did. That's how highly I rate it. Love this album so much. And then we'll get a little bit into Sunday Morning as well, so just keep that in there. There we go. So brilliant gatefold here on this one. So yeah, this was the only album where they had Nico, the beautiful German model there, singing alongside him. Great photograph over there with John Cale. So that's the wrong finger. So I've just been pointing there at Mo Tucker. Sterling Morrison there on the other side. So Mo Tucker on the drums, Sterling Morrison on guitar, John Cale viola and bass, and lots of other instruments as well. Got Nico singing, got Lou Reed there in the corner. Brilliant photograph of Lou there with the shades on. A lot of shades being rocked so far. Have to say, Lights of Guns N' Roses could pull shades off as well. Jesus and Mary Chain and now the Velvets too. And then there's a great picture of Andy Warhol there as well with the tambourine. Great shot. Okay. And then you can see there the Velvets there in all their absolute glory. Yeah, got shades on there. Lou and John Cale there while they're playing away. Great portraits along the bottom as well. So yeah, what an album. But let's get into the song Sunday Morning. So what makes it such a stunning song is the instrumentation for me, just right off the bat. It's got this gorgeous sort of descending like bass line on it, which has been played by John Cale. I do actually think musically it is a real showcase for John Cale in particular in terms of its arrangement. It's got, I'm pretty sure it's a xylophone that's being played on it. I'll just see if it's credited on here, just so I'm not giving any duff information. So yeah, so John Cale is credited with electric viola, piano and bass guitar. But there's this lovely twinkling sort of instrumentation going on to Sunday Morning throughout. And the bass line, as I said, it's simple but so lovely. Lou Reed sings really tenderly on it. Actually, it's probably one of the fewest, one of the songs in the Velvet's catalogue where he does maybe slightly more singing at a push than he does speaking. There is still a speaking quality to the way that he delivers the song, but it's more tuneful in its vocal delivery. So, I mean, there are songs he's done throughout his career where he literally was just speaking, but there is definitely some singing effort being applied, and it just elevates the song to greatness as a result. It's got like a softness to it, to the track, but there's a toughness as well. Like there's a real juxtaposition there of soft and hard. And I do think, just like Honey in that regard, as I've just spoken about, I do feel that it was taking the song and the band were taking the cues very much from the Velvets at that stage in the career. But in a lot of ways, the Velvets were the architects of this sound. You know, these were the guys for me that were the pioneers. Clearly, they've taken influences from other places. There's no doubt about that. Everybody gets influence from somewhere. But I just think the way in which the Velvets put it all together made them utterly unique, and then clearly went on to influence other groups such as the Mary Chain and many more besides. So yeah, you've got this softness going on with Sunday Morning. Yeah, Lou sounding lovely on it, as I mentioned. But I think what makes it so powerful as an album opener is the fact that for anybody who's getting into this or experiencing this album for the first time, you may well be expecting then to hear more songs of that vein for the duration of the album, or at least even a few more. You know, very pretty. It's quite short in length as well, and it just sets this tone where it's almost, well, it is very misleading because, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the album after that goes off in so many different directions and so many lyrical themes that one wouldn't expect, and certainly not for 1967. I mean, this was groundbreaking stuff in 1967. Truly, I mean, this really was the underground in terms of society and the various subject matter that was on display. A song like Heroin, self-explanatory. So you've got this beautiful tune opening things up, and then in a lot of ways, when you know what's to follow, it kind of gives Sunday Morning, I think, like a bit of an element of danger to it, because it's definitely lulling you into a false sense of security with the sheer prettiness of the piece, and then after that, everything's just kind of it's a bit of a free for all in terms of where it goes. So for me, that's what makes it such a compelling, brilliant opener. I think maybe if it had been positioned in a different place in the album, it just wouldn't have worked as effectively as it did. And because of where it was put, I just think it elevates its status as a truly classic opener on a truly classic album. So that's my thoughts on Sunday Morning. Okay, so coming up next then, we've got a double album now, all the way back. I think we're going back here to, from memory, 1979. Pretty sure this came out in 79. For a lot of people, the greatest rock debut, double album, sorry, in history. This one isn't a debut. I'm having to take myself away from debuts now. This was not a debut album, no, but it is considered by many to be one of the greatest double albums of all time. So get your comments in. Let me know if you agree with that or not. Name a few of your favourite double albums. I know that's not the theme or the subjects at hand, but it's okay for us to go in different directions with conversations and go with the flow. So let's get into this one. So the track is the name of the album, Big Big Clue, 1979. It is, of course, The Clash with London Calling. The album and the song is London Calling. What a song. Great, great album. Great album, honestly. The consistency of it for a double is astonishing. But let's stick to only talking about album openers, shall we? Because I've got a tendency to go off on tangents. So I'm just going to show you these first of all. There we go, if you can see all of that. So of course got Joe Strummer, Mick Jones, Topper Headon, I think the group actually called him Headon, but I think it's Headon, and then Paul Cinnamon on the bass as well. So there you go, all the lyrics, everything there, credits as well on that one. And then we've got London Calling there. You can see lyrics, Brand New Cadillac, all those songs on there. Of course, got to mention it because they're my favourite band of all time. I do try and get them in wherever I possibly can, but Huge influence on my favourite band of all time, Manic Street Preachers. I know that James Dean Bradfield, my guitar hero, my hero full stop, is a huge fan of the London Calling album. The Manics have covered Clampdown during gigs, etc. But I'm going to bring myself back onto London Calling. So what makes it such a great song? Well, it's got an unbelievable opening guitar line to it, guitar riff. These sort of like chord stabs that just sound very, very dangerous. They sound like danger is on the way, that it's here, it's arrived, and that you are in for an experience, which with this song and then the rest of the album, you most certainly are. The lyrics are apocalyptic in theme. Brilliant lyrics on it, by the way. London calling to the faraway towns. Now that war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard. All you boys and girls. London calling, now don't look to us. All that phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust. London calling, see we ain't got no swing, set for the ring of that truncheon thing. And then this is my favourite part of it. The ice age is coming, the sun is zooming in. Engines stop running and the wheat is growing thin. A nuclear error, but I have no fear. London is drowning and I live by the river. So that's the part for me really where that a lot of concerns, social concerns, global concerns, very, very apocalyptic, a real sort of almost like a bit of a siren, a bit of a klaxon, done in song equivalent really for me. It's almost like an alarm. It's got a real alarmist quality to it, the song, which never ceases to thrill me when I listen to it. Because, if you want to make a statement with your opening track on any album, London Calling most certainly does that. The group throughout sound amazing. One of my favourite, if not, probably my favourite Joe Strummer vocal, actually. He has such a distinctive voice, didn't he, Joe Strummer? He's just utterly, utterly unmistakable. The way that he almost sort of like garbled words up in his delivery, but just so effective and extremely articulate in his own way. Clearly very, highly, highly intelligent, but he had this almost garbled way of delivering words, which just made everything that he ever performed so much more potent and powerful, and just giving everything a real edge to it as well. So a voice perfectly suited for punk, although this album, as all its fans know, goes in loads of different directions. It's not a punk album. It really, really does run the gamut of many different genres, does it very, very well. So yeah, London Calling had to be in the top 100, and as you can see, I've got it up really high in my own ranking. A brilliant, brilliant song. There were a few other Clash album openers that were in contention for me, but London Calling did win out in the end. My favourite part in the whole song as well is as he's singing along, and you've got the ding, 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 that apocalyptic riff. Joe Strummer just kind of throws in this, like, now get this sort of thing, like, again, a bit of a, make sure you're listening, make sure you're paying attention. I just love that kind of throwaway quality of the way that he says that. I just think it's just so memorable and brilliantly done. And then, of course, you've got, the classic artwork there in the front with Paul Cinnamon smashing the bass up. And then this, design here taken from the Elvis Presley album as well, for anybody who might be interested in that, Elvis Presley. So yeah, there we go. London Calling by The Clash. Excellent stuff. Okay, now coming up next, we've got an album here that the cover, I've never been a fan of it. Never been a fan of it at all, but I absolutely adore the album and I adore the band, and more importantly, I adore the album opener. But we should never ever judge books or record sleeves by their covers. But I just wish that they'd gone with something different. I really, really do. It's not my favourite, put it that way. Just a bit plain, a bit ordinary, but the music is utterly exhilarating. So coming up next, we have got this band's third album. Third album. Came out in 1980, which was just an unbelievable year of music. Certainly, in my opinion, for all the music that I love and that I'm into, just a glorious year. But this album, wow, love it. Come from my neck of the woods, come from Manchester, produced by Martin Hannett. So what more can you say with that? Got an absolute genius on the production duties. So we've now got coming up, Because You're Frightened, which is the name of the song. The album is The Correct Use of Soap, and the band is Magazine. So, Because You're Frightened, what a song. For me, in a lot of ways, it might not be as well known as a lot of the songs that I've been talking about in this batch. You know, there are some really, like just a plain inner on that one, on the Virgin label, this one. There are some really big popular songs here in this batch, but Because You're Frightened, I feel is the one that I'm going to give kind of an extra bit of a shout out to, just because it's a bit of a hidden gem. I mean, obviously, if you know it, then it's not, you know, it's a gem that's been unearthed, and I'm sure a gem that's shone very brightly in your lives for some time. It certainly has been in mine. But for people that don't know it, please do check it out. Of all the songs I'm showing, as much as I love for everybody to go and check out all my picks, please do make a special note of this one, because it might not be known to everybody, and it is certainly worth listening to. And that's why I've got it up as high as I have. So I mentioned there, it's produced by Martin Hannett. So you can hear Hannett's production, I think, pretty prominently. I don't think it's quite as full on as, you know, his work in Joy, you know, with Joy Division and those classic albums he did. But certainly on John Doyle's drums and percussion, you do hear that slightly echoey delay sort of thing going on, which, you know, he pioneered on Unknown Pleasures, which came out the year before this one. And yeah, I do think that kind of spacey vibe that this song has got really does lend to its power. So it is a post-punk song. We've got Howard Devoto on vocals, who'd formerly been, you know, was a founder of the Buzzcocks. Got Barry Adamson here on bass guitar, backing vocals. He went on to play with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and he's done some amazing vocal solo projects as well, such as Moss Side Story. Great bass player. Dave Formula here on keyboards. He does a wonderful job on this song in particular. But the hero of the hour on this one, along with Howard Devoto, is John McGeoch. What a guitar performance on this by John McGeoch. Wow. So the song itself kicks off with John's guitar chugging, with John Doyle on the drums and percussion backing him up. And then he breaks into this just brilliant guitar riff, does McGeoch. I've always thought that there is a bit of a U2 sort of a quality to it. Now, bearing in mind this was 1980, so, you know, so they were contemporaries of you know, U2 at the very beginning of U2's career there, when U2 came out. But I can't help but wonder whether the Edge was listening to this and taking notes. I'm sure he was a fan of the, you know, with Magazine prior to this album, with the likes of Real Life and Secondhand Daylight. I'm sure that the Edge was taking some cues from John McGeoch, because he'd also played in Siouxsie and the Banshees as well. So yeah, I can't help but think, if you listen to this guitar line, you would be mistaken to think it's the Edge, but it's a very pumped up, a very sped up kind of powerful, punky Edge kind of guitar line, which I just find irresistible. It really does make the song Because You're Frightened. It really does. But it's Howard's vocals on this as well, along with John. They're the heroes of the piece. I love the lyrics of it. You love me because you're frightened. I'm falling in love with you because I'm getting frightened of the things you somehow make me do. Goes on to say about, like, look what fear's done to my body, and the way that Howard sings it throughout. He kind of tackles the verses with a slightly more assured, a slightly calmer kind of approach. But then for the, you know, look what fear's done to my body, there's almost like a bit of a not a yelp coming into it, but just a lot more energy and a bit more urgency, just a bit of drama. You know, he adds some drama into the song, but the whole thing just doesn't let up in terms of its pace. You know, it's not a super long song, not super short either, but just the energy of it, it just doesn't let up when you're listening to it. So if you're really into atmospheric post-punk, and you just want to listen to something that's maybe a little bit kind of buried, maybe not quite as, you know, obvious as some other songs out there that kind of get heaped, you know, have praise heaped on them in that genre, then please do listen to Because You're Frightened. As I've mentioned, as I've got it as high as I have because I just adore the song so much. Never ever tire of listening to it. and it is a great opening track on what is a really great album as well. So that's going to be my shout for this bunch. Any magazine fans out there, do get in touch. Let me know if Because You're Frightened is one of your favourites by the band, or maybe you might have gone for a different album opener. They have got some cracking openers of magazine. So there we go. Okay, so at this stage in proceedings, I'm just going to check how many albums I've got left. I think I might be at the halfway point now. I am indeed. I've done 5 and I've got 5 to go. So all there is for me to say is, if you're still watching, you're still with me, thank you very, very much indeed. I really appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed what I've shown you so far, and I hope that you continue to enjoy what I'm about to show now. So yeah, we're making our way up here, up to that number 11 spot, and then when I can get to it, I'll be recording the final part, 10 all the way up to number 1. But we've got a way to go before that. So coming up next then, what a song. This one just makes me smile from ear to ear, does this one. There's just nothing quite like it, is all I'm going to say. I'm not actually going to spend too long talking about it either, which may be a relief to some of you, because I actually did a review request video for this album. So I talk about this song in a lot of detail in that video. So what I'll do is I will pop a link to that video in the description box to this one, and it would mean a lot to me if people, were interested. Please do watch that video, find out a little bit more of what I think about this opening track, but also the album as a whole. I did that as a review request for the legendary Canadian stud muffin, Larry Graves, a very popular YouTuber, got his own music channel, and this band is one of his absolute all-time favourites. So for anyone who's a fan of Larry, they'll know now most likely which band I'm talking about. So coming up next then, we've got an album there that had cover art that I'm not a fan of. That Correct Use of Soap, a little bit disappointing for me, that cover art. This cover art is genius. So here we have Kimono My House by Sparks. That's the name of the album, that's the name of the band, and the opening track is This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. What a song, what a song. Glam rock perfection, pounding and pumping away the way it does. Got the Mail brothers there, Russell and Ron Mail, there we go. Look at that, great look those two had. So there's Ron, Russell. His vocal gymnastics on This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us just have to be heard. The lyrics are genius. And then we've got here Martin Gordon backing him up on bass guitar. Got Dinky Diamond, the brilliantly named Dinky Diamond, on the drums. And then we've got Adrian Fisher on guitar. Great guitar work on this song as well. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it, only because I do think that my review and everything I say about the song there really does capture the sheer essence and my absolute love for this song. So yeah, please do give that a watch, even if you just listen to the first part of it to hear all about the song itself. But I'll go into the cover art, the origins of this and that and all kinds. It's a pretty comprehensive deep dive, and I really enjoyed doing that for Larry. So yeah, This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. Yeah, it's got it does its thing, and it gets out of Dodge. It really does. So memorable. And as I mentioned, yeah, the lyrics are genius, the musical arrangement's genius. Please do give that one a listen, and yeah, please do check out my vid for that one and for the album as a whole. Kimono My House came out in 74, I think that was 1974, produced by Muff Winwood. Okay, so moving on next then. So we're back to another debut album, and we're also back to 1967 as well. So we had the East Coast represented earlier with the Velvet Underground and Nico. We're now going over to the West Coast again for 1967. We're actually in the 60s now for the rest of these picks, so that'll tell you something as to where I am with my musical tastes and how my top 100 played out and how I ended up ranking everything. So we got a real concept going on with this album, an utter masterpiece, psychedelic rock, just brilliant. Every component the four corners of it with each member just working in perfect harmony with each other. Arguably their greatest album, but some people may beg to differ with that. But coming up now, we've got the Doors' self-titled debut album from 1967, The Doors by The Doors, and that opening song is Break On Through. So there were a couple of Doors openers that were in contention for me to pick for the opening tracks, but as I explained in part one, I only allowed myself to choose one song per band or artist. That was to make sure that the selection, the 100, kept itself, quite wide and varied in taste. Rather than picking 10 Beatles songs or whatever, I wanted to try to spread it out a little bit, made it a bit more interesting, made it trickier for me, and then for the people who've played along with me who've adopted the same rules, no doubt it's been a little bit tricky for them as well, but hopefully more rewarding as a result of it. So anyway, let's get into Break On Through. So yeah, that concept I was talking about. So this whole thing, with the Doors, with the band, it's like the Doors Perception, which is reference to Aldous Huxley. So you've got the opening track representing breaking on through to the other side. In terms of sort of breaking through, I suppose, reality and perceptions as we see it and as we know it, breaking into like a new dimension. And then we've got this cycle there within the songs, and then it concludes with the end. There we go, the end, final track. And then the idea is that you play the record again. You've gone full circle, as it were, break on through, right through to the end, and then you come back again to the start. So that's probably not the most academic explanation of that cycle, but I wanted to try and keep it accessible and sort of basic to a degree, just because then it doesn't become some sort of university dissertation or something like that, some treatise on the album or the song as a whole. That's kind of the gist of it, though, I think, anyway, as I understand it. So anyway, let's talk about these core members, shall we? It's got Ray Manzarek here, the one and only Jim Morrison here, Robbie Krieger, and then John Densmore. So with the song Break On Through, you've got this lovely kind of almost like a bossa nova sort of a drum part going on by Densmore. Then you've got Manzarek's very funky bass organ coming in, the do 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 do, just sets up the feel of the song so beautifully. Great stuff. And then you've got, of course, Jim coming in, crooning away, the day destroys the night, night divides the day, tried to run, tried to hide, break on through to the other side. Great lyrics throughout. I mean, it's a pretty short song. It's like 2 minutes 25 seconds, produced by Paul A. Rothchild as well. So it sounds great. It really does. You've just got like Robbie playing these really cool like these little, like not overly complicated guitar figures, but just really memorable, really clever. Kind of similar to what I was saying about McGeoch with Because You're Frightened. Not overly complicated guitar parts, but just suit the song perfectly. And I think that for me is always the sign of a great player of any instrument. When you've got a great song like Break On Through, no need to overplay it. Just keep the groove, keep it relatively simple. You're playing for the song rather than playing outside of it, or dare I say it, playing for yourself, which a lot of musicians get a little bit excessive with that. So what I do love about Break On Through is the economy of the song, in terms of the parts are very memorable, hummable, enjoyable, but they don't do too much. They keep it kind of stripped back in a way. And Jim's voice throughout really shines. He starts off in the croon, and then as it goes on, he begins to shout and holler, shows off that wonderful rock roar that he had as well. It's got the controversial "She Get Higher" kind of line in it. She gets higher line in it, and then it just sort of then all comes down in tempo and speed. But the drums continue throughout with that lovely sort of bossa nova vibe to it. And then I love those yeahs that come in right at the end as well by Jim. It's just a great song. That's all I can say about it. And it's certainly a wonderful way to open up such a classic album. So Break On Through by The Doors. Okay, let's get that put away. I'm trying to remember actually with the She Gets Higher bit. I don't think, Yeah, the higher bit I don't think's in there, is it? I don't think on that recording. I'm trying to remember with that on that version whether it was whether it was removed or not. I do get mixed up because I'm familiar with hearing both versions of that, but there is an edited version of that song as well. So, but for whatever reason, whenever that song comes into my head, I always think of it with the word higher in it as well, unless I've just put that in there subliminally from somewhere. I'm not sure. There you go, rambling away. Okay, so let's move over then to a different group then. We've done the Doors, so that's been them represented now in the top 100. They won't be back again. As I say, they only get one go. The songs or artists and bands that I end up choosing. So coming up now from 1965, we have got an absolutely beautiful slab of folk rock. Ushered in a whole new sound in terms of the jingle jangle, the popularisation, I would say, of the Rickenbacker guitar in particular. Beautiful arpeggiated guitar playing, massive influence on me and the way that I play, and just a song and an approach that has influenced countless bands and artists and guitarists and you name it. What a song. It's a Bob Dylan cover, and it is Mr. Tambourine Man. So the album is Mr. Tambourine Man and the band is the Byrds. So Mr. Tambourine Man, 2 minutes and 20 seconds of folk rock perfection. Simple as that. It really is. It's got one of the greatest opening guitar riffs in history. Very simple. Then you've got that bass line coming in. Very simple bass line as well, couple of notes. That gets things started. And then you get the heavenly harmonies of the Byrds. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. It's just gorgeous. I mean, it really does, for me, completely ace the original Dylan version. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Dylan original, I am. But what the Byrds did with this, and then to make it such a stratospheric song, in terms of a global smash hit, I mean, it has become a legendary song. I mean, it really has. It's one of those songs that it's just kind of defied and moved beyond any, almost like to a higher plane of existence, to be honest. It's one of those songs where it is just immortal. Like, it is just going to go and go decades and decades from now, centuries from now even, I would say. It's almost like up there with, it's like modern classical music in a lot of ways, if that doesn't sound too pretentious. I know what I mean by that. It is just something that when you listen to it, it's so beautiful, perfectly recorded. Roger McGuinn's guitar style, when I was talking there earlier about that jingle jangle, that type of playing, it's just so stunningly beautiful. It really is. It's the type of music that I put on, I just close my eyes, drift away to it. The singing throughout is just so sweet. Roger is taking on the verses pretty much solo in a lot of ways when the harmonies kind of drop in and out, appearing for the Hey Mr. Tambourine Man parts. And then Roger's just got this really kind of quavering quality to his voice, like there's a real bit of a quiver to it, which is just so lovely on the ear. Just a great voice. So taking a song like that, from someone as esteemed as Dylan and putting your own stamp on it, really takes some doing. And with Mr. Tambourine Man, they did it with many other Dylan songs as well, the Byrds. I mean, they for me are, arguably the greatest, should we say, I can't think of the word for it, it's gone out of my head at the moment, in terms of taking Dylan's songs and, covering them and representing them in a different way and just doing wonderful things with Dylan's songs. The Byrds were just masters of that. They really truly were. So huge props to such a wonderful band and Mr. Tambourine Man. I'll always find a reason to play that one, and I'll always enjoy it for the rest of time. Okay, so we've only got now then left numbers 12 and 11. And both of these songs are from 1967 as well. So in this batch, we've had the Velvet Underground, we've had the Doors, and now we've got these two from 67 as well. So that's just how it all fell together when I ranked them. That was not a a purposeful thing when I was putting the songs together and ranking them. That's just how it's landed. So that does give you an idea as we've moved higher up these 100, you know, the sort of music I'm into. Then of course we have the Birds in there from 65 as well. So yeah, we've had some pretty classic 60s stuff in here, haven't we, for this batch? Okay, so we're back to the West Coast. We've got obviously talking about the Doors earlier. We're still on the West Coast. Got the Birds, got the Doors. Now we've got an absolutely wonderful song here as well, and I will be accompanying this little commentary with an anecdote too. So coming up next, then we've got the song "Alone Again" and the album is Forever Changes, and the band is Love. Alone Again absolutely amazing with Brian McLean or McLean, credited here on vocal on the back, just under there, Brian McLean there. Got the one and only Arthur Lee there as well on guitar and vocals. Got John Eccles on guitar, Brian McLean vocals and guitar, and then Ken Forsey on bass as well. Also released on Elektra, as was the Doors. So yeah, just the plain inner on that one, but just show there we go. So yeah, Alone Again so my little anecdote then. So back in 2003, I had the pleasure of going to Mountford Hall in Liverpool, and I saw Arthur Lee live play Forever Changes in its entirety, full album. It was an unbelievable experience. I've still got my ticket for it. I actually got it as a press ticket because I was working for the local news group at the time. So I was sent there in my roving reporter guise, and I'd have to try and dig out the review for that at some point. I'd love to remember what I actually wrote about that review, about that gig. Sorry, all that way back 22 years ago. Took my mate along with me. We had a brilliant night listening to his band at the time, Arthur Lee and Love, or Love with Arthur Lee. I think they did build it at as at the time doing the whole album. But my story was that they obviously opened up with Alone Again, or it's the opening track, and as soon as that guitar line drifts in, that gorgeous acoustic guitar line, for anyone who doesn't know the song, just listen to that guitar part. You know, we already had a wonderful jingle jangle guitar line with Mr. Tambourine Man. This one is equally beautiful. It's equally beautiful, if not more so. And as that guitar line started to play in the hall, I just remember, because I was standing for it, my friend and I, there was like this sort of like this wave almost going on at the front of the stage, because we actually got quite far up to the front, and I just remember like literally ripples going through the crowd as the song was playing, and Arthur Lee was encouraging it as well in terms of like we were almost doing like this kind of movement like that, and it was just absolutely wonderful to watch that, you know, like the rows and rows of people in front. Because I mean, we weren't right at the front, my friend and I, but we were, you know, we were pretty close, and just everybody kind of joined in as the music flowed forward from the front of the stage, and it's a memory that will never leave me. That, I mean, I was already really familiar with Love by 2003 anyway. I was like, 21 at that point. I'd been into Love for quite a while by then. And you know, Forever Changes was one of those records which I know for a lot of people, it is a real eye opener in terms of expanding one's, you know, musical horizons and things like that. And you know, it is an album that gets all the plaudits for a reason. But Alone Again, or as an opener, it's just got such a gorgeous melody to it. I mean, quite simply, that's the reason why I have it as high as I do. I love the vocal performance on it as well, you know, the lyrics and things, but for me, it's more just the music, and it's got this like amazing instrumental break in it as well, which just sounds really triumphant. It's almost got like horns on it, I think, at some point, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's horns on it. It's just this lovely like little break to it, and it's got strings on it and all kinds, and it's just like really orchestral. I don't think you call it chamber pop. I mean, it has got like a kind of a psychedelic feel to it. That was the great thing about Love. They sort of defied categorization to an extent. I mean, You know, there's a bit of folk in there, a bit of psychedelia, you know, baroque pop, chamber pop, if you will. There's just a bit of everything in there, and I do think that Alone Again Or is a great example of a lot of different sounds going into that mix and just being executed so perfectly. It really is just a song that you need to listen. You know, Hey, I Heard a Funny Thing, the way it just opens up as well. Lyrically, it's just absolutely brilliant. I really hope I've remembered that right as well, because lately I'm getting my lyrics all mixed up, which it bugs me really, because you know I really pride myself on always like remembering lyrics, certainly to songs that I adore, but sometimes my brain just freezes up. I think it's when I'm on camera. It does happen every now and again, but yeah, please do listen to it. It's just a wonderful song, great composition, great musicianship on it, and definitely the perfect opener to what is, I think, a near perfect album. I really do. Great song. Alone Again Or by Love. And for anyone who might be interested in it as well, The Damned, who a band that I love to bits, did a really nice cover of Alone Again Or as well during their career. Quite faithful, actually, in a lot of respects. Not too punked up or anything, but it's a nice cover, but not a patch on the original, which, you know, I think is a fair point to make. Not an example of where, you know, with the Byrds, with Dylan, you know, the Damned didn't outdo Love, but it's beautiful to see them paying tribute to a group who clearly they have a lot of love and affection for. So certainly not knocking it. It's a great cover, but I mean, that Alone Again Or to top that is no mean feat. And you know, that for me is the type of compositional work up there with the likes of, you know, Brian Wilson, stuff he was doing on Pet Sounds, or McCartney, that type of level really. So Alone Again Or, amazing. Okay, so we're now at the final song for this batch. So we're now at number 11. So, excuse me, this song did flip-flop. It was always going to be really high up in my top 100, because I just fell in love with it from the very first moment I heard it. I think I was pretty young at the very first time I heard it. I think I might even have possibly have heard it. It may have been on television, but I think my granny had it on cassette. I'm pretty sure that my granny had it, and she was a huge fan of this song in particular. So I may have heard it through her, you know, going visiting her, and probably heard it at some point. Can't quite put my finger on that, but I have got a sense memory of that somewhere. But I was very young, may have even have still been in junior school. So this song has got arguably the greatest organ line in rock history, arguably. That will be a big clue. It's from 1967. It's a classical motif, the organ line, which has played a huge part in the history of the song. So let's get to it. So the song is A Whiter Shade of Pale. Upside down. I'll tell you why in a minute, why I've just done that. The album is A Whiter Shade of Pale, and the band from the UK is Procol Harum. So the reason why that was upside down there is because this record, my copy of A Whiter Shade of Pale, is actually a twofer. So we've got this record here, White Shade of Pale, then you flip it, and we've got a Salty Dog, or a Salty Dog, yeah. Love that cover, love that. Great album as well, that one, but we're not here for a Salty Dog today. We are talking about A Whiter Shade of Pale. It's a lovely cover there as well. There we go. So personnel information inside. It's a gatefold, so we'll show that off. So if you have it obviously that way for White Shade of Pale, you have everything the correct way around, but then you've got you've got it upside down there for Salty Dog. There we go. So that's your personnel information there. So yeah, there's a note there. With the exception of Repent Walpurgis, for which Matthew Fisher, or is it Purgis that, for which Matthew Fisher may be held responsible, all the music was written by Gary Brooker and the words by Keith Reid. The album was produced by Denny Cordell. Right, so the reason I've read that out is because very long story, so I'll keep it very brief. Matthew Fisher did eventually receive, and quite rightly receive, writing credit for A Whiter Shade of Pale. So it says there, just read it even, that all music was written by Gary Brooker and Keith Reid, with the exception of Repent Walpurgis, I believe that's pronounced. So the kind of the controversy really around it, my understanding as to why it took Matthew Fisher years and years and years to get the credit that he deserves for the song as a songwriting perspective, is because the organ line that he played was based on Air on the G String by Johann Sebastian Bach. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a classical figure, the music, classical piece. I think it was, talk off the top of my head here, so there'll be, if anybody out there knows this better than I do, please do feel free to correct me. But my understanding is that because he'd used this sort of Bach foundation for his line, I don't know whether or not that in some way contributed to him not receiving a credit. Might be wrong on that, I'm not entirely sure, but that was my understanding, or at least I'm pretty sure that's what I was told was the reason why there was some controversy as to why he never got the credit he deserved. So the music in general was credited to Brooker, and then the lyrics to Keith Reid. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I don't know whether or not the origins of the line, and it is, an absolutely stunning organ line. I mean, it really is, and it does obviously bear resemblance to Air on the G String, but it's such a gorgeously played piece that how there wasn't an immediate credit for him, for Fisher, I'm not 100% sure. If somebody's out there who does know that in more detail, evidently I've not researched it. Perhaps I should have done, but I haven't. I'm being completely honest there in terms of why he wasn't credited at the time. Then please do let me know. But there was, a happy ending, as it were, I suppose, in the end for Fisher, in that he did eventually get the credit for his contribution to the song. Because let's face it, I do feel that without his organ line, the song just would not be the song as we all know and love. It really is iconic, the organ part. It really is. It just elevates it to a whole new level, and makes it utterly memorable. So yeah, it was a huge, worldwide smash hit for Procol Harum. Very much their calling card. Arguably the greatest song that they ever wrote. I don't think there's many that are getting in there or as high as that. And I just remember being utterly smitten by it as a kid. The opening line, we skip the light fandango. I remember the words feeling very, very abstract to me and very surreal. Did not have a clue what was going on at such a young age. I mean, arguably, the words now, I'm not 100% sure, but it's absolutely full of imagery. With talks of the Millers and Miller's Tale, and references, I think, to Chaucer in there and stuff like that. But I just remember listening to it as a kid and just being completely sucked in by the music of it. It was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard, and I still think that now. There's just such a mournful tone to that piano organ line, and it's just so beautifully played. But I love Gary Brooker's vocal on it as well. Just the way that his voice soars up in tone and power as the song progresses, and it almost feels quite hymnal. I think it's just got such an otherworldly quality to it. It's just an absolutely exquisite piece of British psychedelic rock for me, psychedelic pop, however one wishes to categorize it, but it is just an absolutely stunning song. So A White Shade of Pale there at number 11. Saw Procol Harum once, saw them at the Isle of Wight Festival years and years ago. Just couldn't wait for them to play this. I remember when I was watching them, which they did, and it was a beautiful, absolutely boiling hot day the year that I went, and just amazing. Lying down in the grass listening to A White Shade of Pale, pretty blissful, that one. It was wonderful. So another little anecdote there for me to share. Been getting quite a few of my gig going experiences into these videos, So there we go. That is finishing us off, A White Shade of Pale. But yeah, if anyone can clarify a little bit for me with the Matthew Fisher songwriting thing, because I am conscious I did kind of ramble a little bit there. I might have gone off piste a little bit, but I do think somebody did tell me back in the day or at some point that it might have been to do with that because he kind of lifted it from Bach, that maybe that discredited his contribution to the song. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, someone can help me out there. Okay, so I'm all done and dusted then for part 9. That was a thoroughly enjoyable for me anyway. I obviously can't speak for you guys watching. I'm very grateful if you're still here. Really appreciate that. But I'm just saying I really enjoyed going through all of them. Can't believe now that the next video we're doing the series will be the last one, 10 all the way up to number 1. So if you did enjoy what I did today, then please do consider putting a like on the video. I would really appreciate it if you did. And if you are new at all to the Vinyl Sanctuary and you want to join me in the community in taking refuge in records, then please do consider subscribing. If you do that, then please don't forget to click the notification bell, and that will give you updates as to when I've got new content landing. So yeah, at the point of recording here, I've got part 10 to do, and then I'll be looking at a few other little bits and pieces that I've been wanting to record now for some time. But I didn't want to deviate from doing the series. I wanted to focus all my energy into working through that series in order, just because there's so much content there. You know, it's several hours worth of material now that I've recorded just on this top 100. So it's been a lot of fun, but it has been quite the journey as well. So all that's left for me to say to everyone here now is thank you very much for watching. Please do get involved in the comments. Let me know what you thought of my picks. Share your picks with me. Anything that you agree with, disagree with, whatever it, whatever it happens to be, let's just have some really cool conversations in the comments. And I'll be back again as soon as I can to do the 10th and final part of my top 100 side one, track ones. So until then, bye for now.